Welcome back to Entrepreneurial Shades of Gray. Today, we're talking about the business of TV. What does it really take to run a whole TV station? And Chelsea, I don't know that anybody in the entire building, including us, really get the full picture of what it takes to keep everybody paid, keep everything running smoothly, because there's so many moving parts, you know?
Right, and we only know two sides of it. So you've got the sales side covered, and then I've got the TV side, and there's so many different layers to this. So we brought in an expert and our boss, and it's the general manager of FOX10, Eric Duncan, in the house. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm an expert. I've been doing it for 34 years.
That qualifies you.
So-
I was about to say, you've got the years then. You're good.
Yeah. Before we get into like the meat of things, the money or the revenue, as the sales side would say, I'm very curious as to your thoughts on what kind of person it takes to do what you do. Because I think you either have to be a little bit crazy or full of faith, because there's so much risk involved. It's reward, but it's a very high risk job, right?
So when I first started doing it, this is my fifth TV station I've run. Same company, different TV. And so when I first started doing it, I've changed a lot since when I started. When I started, I was a sales guy. And so I had that mentality. I had to learn the news side, very different. I had to learn the marketing side. I had to learn the engineering side. It took me a little while. It takes a person that can adapt quickly, and that has to learn how to appreciate all the different personalities.
Yeah.
You have to be able to walk into a sales room and deal with that personality. And a sales personality is very different. They're money driven. They're driven by success. They want what they want. They want it now because that's the mentality. Where you go to a news side and they're driven more by creativity, and they're driven more by telling the story. And so their focus and their mentality is very different. And you got to handle both at the same time. So being able to manage personalities, I think, is the biggest part of it. The money part, managing the money, managing all that, that's really not that hard. I mean, we have a great company that really helps me with the accounting part of it and helps me, stay within my guidelines. I have a great accounting manager that helps me stay within my guidelines. The biggest part is managing personalities and managing, and then you have the whole other part of this, which is the clients and all the different people that come through the building, and managing that. So you do have to manage that.
Yeah.
I remember you made a comment that really stood out to me in terms of like who you would hire as far as the sales side. You said that you were talking to somebody and you didn't want to hire them because they weren't willing to bet on themselves. Because, in sales, it's 100% commission. So that's why I say you have to be a little bit crazy or full of faith. So in terms of that, like betting on yourself, why is that important to you, specifically for the business side of this?
To be great at sales, and I will say this about to be a great MMJ or a great reporter, it's somewhat similar. You have to have enough faith in yourself that you're going to win, that you're willing to bet on yourself, that you're willing to say, I'll take less now to make more later. And so if you get a salesperson that says, well, I'm willing to bet on the team, but I'm not willing to bet on me. Well, every salesperson is their own entrepreneur. They run their own business within our business. All we supply them with the materials they need to go sell. They go sell it. They make their money, and so they have to bet on themselves. They have to appreciate their talent enough and be confident in themselves enough to go bet on themselves. And for that, they make more money than most of the people, everybody in the building, because they're having to bet on themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's so interesting because in my 7 years here, I think I've experienced 3 GMs and a different parent company all through that. But it's so funny because every time there's a new GM coming in, they're like, is it sales or news? Like, where are they coming from? And that's like the whispers behind the scenes, and I'm sure you're aware of that too. So my question is, like, how did you even step into the TV world? Obviously, it sounds like you knew about sales, but like, how did you step into the business of TV?
So in the beginning, I graduated from college. I have a degree in agricultural economics, which, what does that mean, right?
Right.
And I stumbled into sales because I was probably destined to always be in sales. I stumbled into sales. And then we were in Dallas, Texas, and we stumbled into this TV world that was the national TV, which is I worked with several TV stations, and I negotiated contracts with different clients, different companies to do advertising on those TV stations. This was a long time ago when advertising was the sole revenue for TV stations. So that's how I stumbled into the TV world. But I was never at a station. I was off site. I was working in Dallas in a high rise. So going from that, I went to work for my first TV station in Dallas, and we ended up in Austin shortly thereafter. That was my first introduction to news, truly into news and to marketing. I didn't even know marketing existed. Like, I didn't know that marketing department existed. But that was my first introduction to news. Didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me because of my fast-paced world of sales, the whole idea of news stories and developing those stories and going out. What I've learned over the years is, and I said this a minute ago, to be a great MMJ, you got to be able to bet on yourself. You got to have the guts to walk up. So an MMJ and a salesperson do the same thing. They both walk up to somebody that doesn't want to talk to them most of the time, that doesn't want them around them, and they got to ask for something. You got to ask for a story. You got to get that story. Or you got to go ask for money, and you got to ask for the ability to be able to market their business. Very similar situations. So you got to be able to bet on yourself as a reporter to be able to get that story. And you got to know that you're on your own. You're on an island. When you're going to get that story, you're by yourself. There's nobody helping you. So that was a great, I think I fell in love with news when I figured that out. When I figured out that these people go out every day and do that hard job, just like as I did as a young salesperson going out to do that job, to go out and go ask for that money or go ask for that account. They're going to ask for that story. Then I started, okay, there is some similarities. Today, it's funny you say that because that was always the trick, right? Are they from news or are they from sales?
Yeah.
Never from marketing. You never wanted somebody from marketing.
Why?
No,
you're
because the bulk was mostly because you didn't understand marketing.
Sure.
And like, well, they've never sold anything. And the news people are like, well, they've never had to go out and do a story. So nobody understood them. And you don't see a lot from marketing. But today, news and sales are so much closer than they were before. Because we're not just a broadcast television station, because we're a multimedia, multi-platform company, the lines cross more. The show you do on a regular basis crosses those lines, and that's a good thing. The amount of content we do crosses lines. It's not just hard news anymore. It's all kinds of news. It's information, and so it is a little bit easier. I think you see a lot more cooperation between the groups. 10 years ago, the news, you would never have a news person on the sales floor, or vice versa. But now, I mean, the lines are crossed more. It's more of a collaboration.
So in terms of the money, obviously you talked about marketing and you talked about advertising as a way, to pay the bills around here. But what all different streams of revenue does it take to operate a television station?
Great question. So several. So not this TV station, but in general, as a whole, the country, there was about $33 billion spent on television broadcast advertising this last year. That's actually down, and people that pay attention know that broadcast advertising revenue is going down. Take a guess at what digital advertising in the country was last year. $33 billion for broadcast digital advertising.
Double it.
100.
$220 billion. So, and going up. So that's the other stream, right? So there's two streams. You get your broadcast television, which is still a strong stream, and it's still a lot of money. You've got digital advertising, which is our content put out on other platforms, and people advertising or going and getting information there. The third stream, and it was a short-lived but strong stream, and now it's starting to go down. The cable companies and the satellite companies pay us to carry our programming. So they pay per month per subscriber. So think about Cox or Comcast or whoever. They pay, let's just say it's not this number, but we'll say it's $1.50 a subscriber per month. They pay us that for our content. So that's another revenue stream. Well, that stream's going down as well because of cable cutting, cord cutting, people going to streaming. And we don't get paid the same way by streaming services. We get paid in a different way, not near as lucrative. So that's the third big stream, but it's going down. So you hear me say this a lot, we're not a television station. We're a multi-platform video company. We create content to help to inform the public, but B, to help businesses, to give businesses an audience to be able to sell their products. So we have to do that on all the different platforms for that to work, and that's all and the streams are changing. The stream changes.
Yeah.
Social media. So social media wasn't a stream for us 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, how are you adapting to that? Like, what are you doing to get ahead of that?
So you change who you like. So we've changed. So positions that were important 5 years ago aren't as important today.
Right.
Other positions are. You'll see us. We've already started, but we spend a lot more time and effort on video views outside of broadcast. So where maybe you don't need as many show producers, but you need more digital producers that are producing digital content. So we lead our company in digital video views in the whole company at the stations, because we've revamped our digital team to be more. Instead of working more on getting the broadcast shows out on digital, they're finding their own digital content and getting that out, because that's more views. And the more people that watch it, the more commercials you produce and the more opportunities.
And Fox10 leads that.
For our company,
Olive Gray.
for Olive Gray. Yeah, we average, I think the last 4 months we've averaged like 7 million video views a month, which is a ridiculous number. When you think that 2 years ago we did 800,000.
So break that down, what that looks like in terms of money. Why is that important for news to get that many video views?
So for every video view, when somebody watches a video, and whichever platform they're on, they're going to get served a pre-roll ad, they're going to get sold a mid-roll ad, and a post-roll ad. So that's the same thing as a commercial on television. So they're going to, as they click on that story, they're going to get served an ad, 10-second ad, a 15-second ad. Well, people are paying for those ads, and so we sell those ads in bulk, and then people pay for those ads. They pay for that ad space for both pre-roll, mid-roll, and end-roll, and it's all cost different. Depending, pre-roll costs the most because it's guaranteed you're going to watch it. Mid-roll usually costs a little bit more because you're in the middle. The post-roll, you could click out of it. So we monetize that, the more the video views. So people are still ingesting it. When people say to me, local news is dead or local television's dead, it's dying, it's not really true. It's still the same people producing the same content. It's just people are watching it in different places. Yeah. You don't watch, I know both of you don't watch the 10 o'clock news or the 9 o'clock news all the time. You don't. But you still get that content. You get it on your phone, your tablet, you get it somewhere. And so that's why broadcasters will be successful, is because unlike radio, which really struggled, newspaper that went away. Yeah. We have video, and we know how to create video, and we have the platforms to get it out. So we have to pivot. As an industry, we've pivoted away from big newscasts and more into, so you have to pivot with the people. An anchor's not worth what an anchor was worth 10 years ago. They're not, because if I could have somebody anchor, and let's say that person was making, let's just say that person was making $100,000 to make it an easy number, but I could take that $100,000 and pay somebody $50,000 to anchor, and then I could go hire 2 other people. Obviously, they'd be paying more, but I could hire 2 other people to create content. Now I've got 3 people creating content instead of 1.
Price of 1.
Right, and so because content's more important than the anchor.
Yeah.
5-10 years ago, the anchor was way more important than the content, but it's not the same.
Let's talk about the management of people, because we've got a lot of people in this building, outside of this building too.
And personalities.
And personalities, which really, when I say I love this place and everyone who works here, like, really do. I think we all have a good time. I think at the heart of it, we're all trying to work towards one goal. I remember when you first came, when everyone was whispering, is he from news or sales? Your first initial meeting, you said, hi, I'm Eric. Let me tell you about my family, all the good things. And then at the end, you were like, also, if you're not honest with me, you're out. You said something essentially to that point. So my first question is, one, how do you even approach managing a group like this where there are a ton of people in one building? And secondly, why is that so important to you as a manager?
Because we are family.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't lie to your family. You can't lie to your family. You have to. We are family, and we're all in this together. If you can't be honest, you can't be here. And sometimes honesty's hard, and sometimes you have to say things that don't sound so great. But you have to be honest. And if something bad happens, be honest. Then I'm going to be the first guy to help you fix it. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna get past it. We're gonna move on. Now, if you do it over and over and over again, you're probably not going to be here. But if you're honest with me and if you're honest with each other, and it's not just honest with me, you got to be honest with each other, then we're all going to, it's a better place for everybody. Gosh, to me, it's the simplest thing.
Yeah.
Is to be honest. You know what? The personalities are what makes this place great. It's what makes our industry great.
Yeah.
Because we have this, we talked about the news personalities, the sales personalities, because all those people work together and are around each other, that's what makes this place fun. It wouldn't be fun if we all thought the same way.
Yeah.
And it also makes it contentious at times. And there's a lot of really strong personalities in a building, and I love that. I love that I had a station once that nobody complained or argued at all. It was fantastic. No, it was horrible.
What?
It was horrible.
You like a little drama?
Yeah, you need some drama. You got to have drama.
It is a TV station.
Hey, on occasion, I create drama just to create it, just to get things
really
going.
does.
Just to get things
I know.
going.
He messes
Oh,
with
I
a lot
know.
of us.
Yeah, just to get things going, because you need a little drama. You need some excitement. If you don't have fun every day, then that's sad. If you don't laugh every day, and if you don't have to deal with something and work through something every day you should have to work through something. You should have to figure something out.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're tougher days than other days. But if you're not pushing yourself to have a blast every day, if you're not enjoying that, if you're not pushing yourself to think and grow every day, then you're in the wrong. Then you got to rethink who you are, because that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
We're here too long to not have fun. Like we are
Absolutely.
I'm here more than I see my kid, and you too. Like
Yeah.
we're here too long to not like the people you work with and to not have fun.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something too that you shared when I first came back. Because when Eric first came, I left, but then I came back.
She said, "Oh, I heard he's from sales. I gotta get out of here."
That was not the reason. But you shared a video with us, and it was the head coach from Duke's women's basketball team, and she was talking about handling hard better. And she basically talked about how successful people don't sit around and wait for things to get easier, because life is not going to get easier,
No.
but you just learn how to handle hard things better. And I shared that with my son, and I have literally leaned on that from the time you sent it. I've shared it with so many other people. I've been asked to speak places. I've played it because it is the truth. So it really does. You want to elaborate on how it takes that mentality to do this job?
Well, I would say that the better your life gets, the harder it gets, because you have more challenges. You have the opportunity for more challenges. So isn't that a great thing?
Yeah.
It's a great thing that you have opportunity for more challenges. And so if you have to embrace the hard, you have to. There's a book that it talks about embracing the suck, and that's what it is. Like the bad stuff, you have to embrace it, and you have to say, "This is how I get better." You learn more from falling down than you do from not falling down, right?
Yeah.
You learn more from losing than you do from winning. So you have to embrace that hard, and you have to know that when it's hard, that's the accomplishment is that much greater. If this was easy, then the accomplishment wouldn't be that big a deal to you. You wouldn't appreciate it. Now, you also have to appreciate the hard. You have to appreciate the win when you win.
Right.
And we all do that in different ways. I'm not a cheerleader. I've been accused of not being that much of a cheerleader, and I should
You
be more
get
of
high
one.
fives
Yeah,
sometimes.
I should be more of a cheerleader, and I should be. I honestly should be, because but I do in my own way celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah, you
celebrate
do,
the wins
for sure.
and we have to celebrate, especially the hard ones.
Yeah.
And so you have to embrace those hard times and know that those are what make you better, and that's what makes you who you are. And the
Yeah.
more and look, nobody wants to go through hard times all the time,
Right.
but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you do have them, you have to take a step back, recognize that it's hard, and then push through it, and then you're going to feel so much better afterwards, and you're going to be better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, when your name is in the headline, not here at Fox 10, but a local paper or whatever that is, it's typically not a great story. I don't know if that's been the
Yep.
same in the past. I wanted to ask you, like, on the family side of things, you've got 2 kids, you've got grandkids, your wife is amazing, you've been at all these stations. Like, how did you manage all this and still do it, but also, like, family life, too? Is Jenny the secret?
Jenny's the secret to everything.
Yeah.
Just ask her. No, Jenny's great, and my kids don't know any different. We were in Austin, and Jenny was in the business too. Jenny was on the radio side, and so when our kids grew up in Austin, which was a booming town. It was a very vibrant town. A lot of movie stars, a lot of music acts. So that my kids thought everybody just lived that way. That we were around those people all the time, and we saw those people. as far as the being in the news stuff, and there's been not a whole lot, but there's been times that I've been in the news for negative things.
Right.
Like,
It's just a public job.
yeah, it's a public job, and of course on social media I get questioned a lot, and how we handle a story, or how something happened, or if I had to let somebody go, or whatever. None of that ever gets easy, and I'd love to say, yeah, it just rolls off your back. It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, we manage it. Jenny and I both manage it the best we can. We kept our kids when they were a little bit younger. We kept our kids out of it. We didn't let them see that stuff. But I've had police cars parked in front of my house because of bomb threats and those
Right.
kind of things, and you just deal with it. It's never good, but you just have to understand. For me personally, look, God's got a plan. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll get through it, and I'm still going to do my thing. Be honest, work hard,
Drink a scotch.
drink a little vodka, and move on. But yeah, it happens, and it has happened. It's never fun.
Yeah.
But at this point, when it comes to the social media and that stuff, that part does sort of roll past me, because you know.
It's an opinion.
How do you handle it? Let's say somebody spends a lot of money with the television station, and then they do something and they end up on the news, and it is the news's job to let everybody know about it.
Yep.
How do you handle it when a client is
So
like, take me off
so
your
that's
news?
that's the hard one, right? That's when it gets hard. So no matter whether they're a client or not a client, it doesn't matter. If there's a news story out there that needs to be told, that's an important story, then we're going to do the story. Now, how I handle it different is I call the client ahead of time. I do it. I call the client ahead of time and say, hey, you need to comment. You're going to get it. We make sure they have that opportunity to comment on it, especially if it puts them in a bad light.
Yeah.
If say, look, here's what we have from this side. Tell your side. But we're going to tell this side. And if they say, well, we're going to pull our advertising, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's still a story. We're going to tell that story, and then we move on. More times than not, it's been, in all the years, I've maybe lost 3 or 4 clients because of a story. And I've had to tell some really tough ones. I mean, we've had to tell some bad ones. And so, but if you get ahead of it, again, if you reach out and say, hey, we're going to tell a story, we want you to talk, but you don't have to. But we want to give you that opportunity to tell your side. It usually works out. And luckily, there's not a lot of that, but it has happened.
Yeah. What's the biggest lesson you've learned, or like a failure that you bounced back from?
Oh gosh, in the TV, lots of failures every day. I think we fail every day, right? I mean, we make mistakes every day that we got to get back up. And you hear me say this: I run fast, fall down, get up, keep running. You can't can't worry about falling down. You just got to get up and run. Biggest failure, I think probably my biggest mistake. I don't know if it was a failure. So my first GM job was in Montgomery, just up the road, and I got an opportunity. I was only there for like 19 months, and got an opportunity to go back to Texas, and got pushed to go back to Texas, which is where we were from, is where kids are from. And I did it, and I didn't bet on myself. I didn't have the confidence in myself to say to my bosses, no, I'm going to stay here and build something here. Not saying I wanted to stay in Montgomery my whole life, but I jumped from Montgomery before I was ready. And so when I got to, and Montgomery, by the way, WSFA, it's a powerhouse station. No offense to Mark, he's a great guy, but it runs itself. When I was there, it ran itself. You can really learn there because there's no pressure, because there's not as much pressure. I went from there to Waco, Texas, and it was just a dumpster fire. We had bought the station. It was a horrible station. Good people, but a horrible station. No support. I think I let go half the staff because they just, And so I wasn't ready for that. And if I'd have had the guts to say to myself, usually, well, you bet on yourself to go do it. No, I needed to bet on myself to have the strength to go to my boss, who was the president of the company, and say, nope, I'm staying here. I'm not ready. I want to learn more. And you know what he would have said? I've talked to him since then. He just said, well, of course you need to stay here. And instead I said, nope, I'm ready. Let's go do something else. And I wasn't ready to do that. So that was my biggest mistake. I mean, I made it through Waco. We did fine. But I wasn't ready for any of that. So I would have done much. If I went to that same situation today, I would handle it very differently. And I probably wouldn't have fired half the staff. I would have worked through that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I
all
wasn't
learning
ready for that.
moments. It's all learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're sitting in this new podcast room that you graciously have funded for
I feel like
us.
it's a podcast room that you built.
I did
It
build
is-
this.
Danny
okay,
Dowles
thank you.
built this,
Thank you.
yes.
I
Yeah.
did build this podcast room.
And George.
And with George Criminali. Shout out to George.
God bless him.
What's the push behind podcasts? Because this is not just Danny Dowles' podcast room. This is an entire station's podcast room. What is the future of this podcast room in your vision?
So the reason behind it goes back to what I said before. We have to get content out on as many platforms as we can. And it's not all for revenue. It's also just to get information out. More people are watching or listening to podcasts than
Yes.
ever before. And so that's an opportunity for us to get a message out and to get information out. And so that's the reason behind it. That's why I wanted to start doing it, was because I felt like we have people here that we have stories to tell, and so let's do it. Also, it allows somebody like you who's not typically on air
Right.
to be able to do this. And,
Yes.
and we've opened it up to anybody in our building. It's not just on-air people. Anybody in our building has the ability to come to a podcast in here. They just have to sell it. They have to sell me on the idea. And we have 2 coming that are on their way, that are new ideas, that are people that are not on air, that are one's a producer, that want to do that, have good ideas, that we're going to let them do that. It's going to go. So now then, instead of having a newsroom, again, that mix, instead of having a newsroom with reporters and anchors that produce content, now the whole building can produce content.
Right.
And anybody in the building can be a content producer, which in the end we will make money off of. We'll make more money off of that.
Right.
So I'm excited about it. This is the beginning of this. We're going to grow it. And then eventually, hopefully, we'll have people in the community that and they don't have to, people in the community that have great stories to tell, and they can use this podcast room and our infrastructure to get that information out, which is going to help them. So that's another way to help an entrepreneur.
Stream
Yeah.
of revenue.
It's another stream of revenue.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want to just go ahead and tell the people where they can check out all the podcasts while we're talking about it?
You can tell them.
Okay, so we're going to be on YouTube, right?
Yes.
We're going to be on the Gulf Coast Gulf Stream,
Yes.
fox10tv.com, and then we're pushing them out to everywhere really where they're streaming.
Everywhere where
they're
they're streaming, yeah. So Spotify and any podcast area that you can get podcasts. Now some of those will be in the beginning. Some of those will be audio only,
Right.
And then anything with us will obviously be audio video, but some of those will be audio only. But that's okay too, because a lot of when people are listening to those podcasts, they're in their cars. They'll have that opportunity as well. Eventually, it'll all be audio video. It's just a process, but anywhere you can get a podcast, you'll be able to get this podcast.
So cool. Well, running short on time. Thank you so much for being here. I know you said earlier that you could be a better cheerleader, but I think I can speak for me and Danny, and I know I can speak for me and Joe. Like, you really are. Joe says it all the time, like one of the best GMs.
Oh,
So-
my favorite. And
like,
I've had
right.
a lot of GMs. I've been here for over 20-something years. You're my favorite.
I think it comes back to the honesty thing. Like, you expect honesty from us, but we also get that from you.
Right.
So it's such a cool it's such a cool boss-employee relationship that I've never experienced anywhere else, and then here too. So thank you. Studio 10 is usually a gray area when a new GM comes in. In the past, Allison, Joe, and I are always like, we're just
Right.
nervous. We don't know. It's
gonna
not
change
technically
things
news.
up.
And you not only loved it, but you grew it by an hour. So thank you. You're a pretty good boss.
Yeah.
Well,
I like that you're candid too, and you give people a shot. You know,
You do.
I feel like you treat everybody differently, and I love that, because I come in a little late, and you don't give me any flack about it, because I guess what you see in me, the potential that you see.
I know
in
what
me,
you,
just-
but I also know your situation,
Yeah.
right? And everybody's situation is different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so, and I know how hard you're going to work.
Yeah.
So so to me, you have to treat everybody differently, because to get to the same goal. And I will tell you the last thing. I know that I am your boss, but I don't think of it that way. I think of that we're all in here. We all have a job to do.
Yeah.
And in the end, my job is to support everybody here. In the end, my job is support staff. I'm here to make sure that everybody's jobs are easier. Sometimes support's a kick in the butt, but it's still support, right?
Yeah.
But so it's, to me, a good GM or good anybody, a good manager has to think of themselves as support staff. If you think of yourselves as in charge and managing down, it's never
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
For sure.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thanks for the
you.
Thank
podcast,
you.
Ariel.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you so much for all the things that you fund for us here at the station. I'm always asking for his card.
She does.
She
Ask me for my
is.
card on a regular basis.
Hey, but you made this dream come true.
I
You
did. I
it.
did. It's what
Yeah.
it takes. So we
George
appreciate
made it come true.
George and Danny.
So
it was a team effort.
What we're saying,
And
and
your
if you
card.
don't know George, just watch Studio 10. You'll see him pop up. George could have a podcast.
His
George could have a
ladders-
podcast.
His
George-
ladders.
Maybe
could have a
George can do a
podcast.
Mardi Gras podcast.
Hey,
Yeah.
There's
Let's
some
get on-
stories there.
there are some stories
It would probably be the most downloaded podcast.
of all time.
There's
of
some
all
stories
time.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe 4 hours,
Maybe so.
but it would be downloaded. Love that, George. Thank you.
We
Thank
appreciate you, Eric.
Thanks.
We're going to sell something now.
Me too.
This episode of Entrepreneurial Shades of Gray is brought to you by Honest Air, Plumbing, and Electric.